And we'll see how these guys wind up, what they ban or pick. And right away, it's going to be the Odin.
Not a very uncommon ban. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Zeus and Kabrakan taken away as well. Zeus already being eliminated on the side of Quantum, so already trying to eliminate that AoE aspect.
Sylvanas also, a little bit of AoE by way of the Wisps, of course the ultimate, but really banned out because of the push that he brings into the lane. And
there's the Kabrakan ban out on the side of Quantum Esports, so immediately, you can tell that these two teams are trying to eliminate as much early pressure as possible, but CAZ able to pick up that Emir, and that could be going towards support or solo. You never really know with these teams.
Even in jungle. We've seen some jungle Ymir come out recently, so certainly a character that does very well. Not only is his passive very strong, but also just base value. Right off the bat, he becomes very powerful. Poseidon and Susano together, very strong choices. Poseidon's going to lock down some mobile characters, and Susano's going to be really mobile.
Plus the cripple in general is just such heavy setup potential for the side of Quantum Esports already, and then combine that with the Susanoo who can easily pull people back in, but a great deterrence factor coming through on the side of CAZ with that bots pickup.
Yeah, Hunbats is going to be able to, when Poseidon drops down the Whirlpool, if he has any plans, Hunbats is going to mess him up. Everybody's going to walk in different directions, and there's not going to be a way for the teams to really get themselves going as far as the battle plan is concerned. I like the Isis pickup. We don't really see a lot of her. She's not a complete zero in the SCL and the SPL, but she's certainly not towards the top.
I love the Isis pickup against the Poseidon Susanoo because not only is he going to have the silence as far as self-peeling is concerned, but it goes along with the aspect of AoE that CAZ is opting for. With an Emir bots and Isis ultimates down on the field, it's pretty difficult to fight into that in those awkward jungle engagement scenarios.
You know, you mentioned the silence. I love silences when it comes to abilities like Brutalize and like what Susano has with his first ability. You throw one out and you got two more steps, but if you get silenced, that's it. That's all you get. So Isis really going to focus on being the control mage. Quantum bans out two of the popular ability-based hunters, Medusa and Cupid, taken out of it. And Shibalanke, a character that has had some recent success, will be banned out as well as Sobek. That leaves Quantum picking up the Bacchus, and then across the way, Ares and Anher.
This is a heavy control aspect, though, with the Ares pickup for the side of CAZ Esports. Ares bots is probably one of the oldest combinations in the book because you have one or the other to burn out tons of actives on the side of Quantum, and if they're not careful, it's very easy for CAZ to go ahead and re-engage.
Yeah, you only have one set of beads, but two players that burn those beads, so you're getting picked up by one of them. Definitely a bad spot for Quantum to be in. They've got Ram though, so Ram and Bacchus just a whole ton of damage. Honestly, looking at Quantum's entire draft, Taco, it's all about damage across the board.
They're looking for the heavy burst potential, especially with that Poseidon. I mean, you immediately just want to pick up an opponent or two, put those team fights into your advantage, and considering that they had the burst to do so, it wouldn't surprise me to see Quantum finding the better end of some of these trades. But at the same time, you do have to consider CAZ has a ton of early game potential, so Quantum's looking mostly to play for the late game here.
Yeah, it's absolutely what they're looking. Even though it's funny, a lot of times when we talk about Poseidon, we mention the fact that he's not a late game character compared to some of the other mages, but that's just it, compared to some of the other mages. When you're looking at mages that go really deep into the game, like Thoth, etc., those are the ones that we compare him to when we say he's not too late game. But with an Isis across the way, you're not really worried about some super heavy damage coming out in the 30th minute or so. The Poseidon pick is going to dance just as well as the other characters.
Plus, with Bacchus and Poseidon, they can definitely punish that Ares should Jerome overstep it and find himself too far up in the lane.
Yeah, definitely one of the more punishable characters, Ares, especially when he comes out with that ultimate no escape. He's just kind of hanging out there for a moment or two, cracking, intoxicate. I don't know if he gets that ult off all the time, so absolutely something to monitor for the future.
Not much surprise going on in the duo lane, though, for Ram to be finding the better trade of that out clear potential. I mean, with Astral Arrows, it just makes it all too easy for that initial wave clear.
Yeah, just able to not only just deal extra damage, but also penetrate and hit multiple options at the same time. Certainly a strong choice. So the Ymir will not be in the jungle. Instead, Minos will be Minos, excuse me. I remember speaking to him earlier, and he actually, I've been calling him Minos, but it's Minos. So a little correction there. Big freeze coming out from Minos right there. Actually, big plays. Half damage on the jungler. Big crit coming out from the monkey, but it's not enough to bring Hyperion down just yet.
It's pretty crazy how much a 70 damage crit at this stage of the game can deal so much chunking of damage to that Susanna, especially for Hyperion. But it looks like Overpowered's taking just as much poke from that creep wave.
That's really the key there, and this is probably one of the only times where that crit is very important to these Hun Bats players, especially these days, the way the itemization is, and that you really, you kind of, once you see that critical strike happen, you almost always see the monkey stick to the target and stay on it. But right here with these first couple of waves, these minions deal so much damage that Overpowered USB just really couldn't stick onto them.
And it's also pretty standard play from both of these teams, just electing to go for their own buffs in the jungle rather than trying to look for any sort of invades. But Hyperion's looking to put a little bit of pressure onto Minos here in the solo lane and taking a decent chunk of health, but he'll be just fine going back underneath this tower.
The naturally tanky Ymir, one of the more robust characters when it comes to base stats regarding defensives. And then, of course, the defensive pickup right away. Starting item of the Mark of the Vanguard. Anticipating that, one, he's going to be taking a lot of damage from these minions because he's going to be so active in the battle. And two, there's, of course, I think he was coming into the lane expecting some of that bluestone damage from the jungler. So you're going to be careful of that as well.
Of course, and you can never really go wrong playing the Guardian of the Soul lane with the Vanguard.
Yeah.
And Hyperion just out of range of the Spirit Ball from Alexum, but they're electing to give up the Elemental, or at least the big one, so that's kind of a win in CAZ's book.
Yeah, for now. Right now, players just looking for any sort of advantage that they can find up against the opposition. Hyperion gets frozen, doesn't know that the monkey's here, Beads is out, beautiful wall coming out from Minos, and he's rewarded for it. First blood, going to CAZ.
That was an absolutely beautiful wall on the side of Minos. Just perfect execution, really. Completely read exactly what Hyperion was trying to do as far as the escape is concerned. And Hyperion was predicting it as well, the bot's ultimate. He had the beads preemptively, but it didn't even seem to make a difference at all. He's just cleaned up right away. Yeah,
just a little bit too fast on the wall right there for Minos. Nice play coming out for the guys on CAZ. Quantum here, they've got to look as... the first blood bounty is about 500 gold, and so CAZ has that and a little bit of extra change as they're able to farm out while the player's sitting down, but just barely. So that's the beginning for now. We'll see how the rest of this dual lane goes. Sometimes one gank is all you need to really set up the Guardian or set up anybody in this lane and put the other person at a disadvantage. We'll see and monitor if it's just going to be that one gank coming out from the Hun Bats. The
other issue here too is that Hyperion's actually still hanging around in that solo lane, which is starting to put Coach Killy at a bit of a disadvantage in comparison to Minos, who's just been free farming away, getting a lot of that solo farm. So because of that, he's going to steadily maintain his lead over the enemy solo laner, and that's always a crucial point for an Ymir.
Yeah, when you're able to get that solo farm, and like we were talking, the base damage on Ymir is just so strong. He's got those penetration boots, which is kind of all he really needs a lot of times. Sometimes you'll see the Void Stone come out, or some other cheeky items, but in general, from here, expect to see a lot of tank items, but still bring the damage, because that's what Ymir does.
And for CAZ to have Elemental's control so early on, it's going to be really difficult for Quantum to find a ton of solo farm on their side of the jungle. They're most likely just going to have to do their best to defend their buffs, if anything.
And this is one of the nice things about having the tanky character here in the solo, is that the jungler has basically turned the short lane into the dual lane, and Minos just doesn't care. He walks up, he clears the lane, he walks back. A little bit of poke is given to him, but there's in no way, shape, or form is he close to death. So absolutely what him and his fans want to see.
And it's really convenient for Overpowered as well, because as a bot, you don't really want to have to be too concerned about ganking your solo lane. You just want to be confident that your teammate's going to be safe the entire time. Like we've seen Minos perfectly handling the situation, and now that's going to give Overpowered so much freedom to just roam that mid dual lane side. And so Joey's got to be a little bit more careful, along with Sir Duckbot there in the mid lane.
Another beautiful wall that we just saw. The first one was offensive, this one was defensive. Drops the wall, anticipating the pull from Susano, gets it right in time, and he gets pulled into, well, his own wall. Very smart read coming out from Minos there to prevent what could have been a bad situation. And then, like I said earlier, I think you just touched on it before, was that the fact that this does seem to be a one gank solo lane. Sometimes you just need to show up, put the other guy down once, and then the rest your teammate can handle. Here, the long lane, haven't really mentioned it. Dobson just zoning out, looking for last hits, trying to deny all the golden experience from Joey across the way.
And it's a lot more difficult for Joey to handle because Dobson went for the more aggressive build, rushing that warrior tab eye. So he's going to have a lot more freedom as far as ganking into Joey's concerned. And he's already displaying it, immediately forcing Joey to burn out those purification beads to try and avoid the pillar stun.
Really important one. However, players on the right side are going to need their beads. There's the Ares getting smoked out before he even gets the ultimate. That's going to be the problem for our Guardian Jiran over here, is just the fact that Ares can wind up just blown up.
It's an unfortunate circumstance anytime you're trying to solo engage as an Ares. There's a little bit of bad pathing on the side of Jeroen's end as well. He needs to be a little bit more cognizant of where exactly Quantum is on the map, because one Kraken is all it really takes to burst him down to kill threshold.
I mean, that's exactly, yeah, that's what we just saw. One Kraken came out, then somebody looked at him the wrong way and he fell over. Nothing really came of it. And Jiran, you can see, not even able to get the ultimate off. Level 8, so it was certainly available, but just not quick enough. Even if he hits the button, he's still sitting there for a couple of seconds with his hand in the air, just kind of waiting to kind of get eaten. And that's what we see. 1-1 so far, couple of minutes short of 10 on the clock. And CAZ Esports off to about 500,000 gold lead, so pretty much just about a first blood bounty. Nothing really extra coming out from these guys, and at the moment, I think that's what to expect. Even though we see a decently early game coming out from CAZ, I don't think we're going to see pre-10 minutes, but very quickly after 10 minutes, Taco, I think we're going to see some plays towards the Gold Fury.
But that one pick onto Jeroen was already so fundamental for Quantum, because not only were they able to secure the Oracle vision, but that also overlaps into the dual lane side, giving Joey so much more freedom. But now it looks like tables could be turning.
And there's Jiran getting smoked out. Look at the rotation from Joey. Halfway there, pops down the ultimate out of Rom, and Duckbot able to seal the deal. The second kill for Quantum is going to be the second death for the Ares player, Jiran. That time, he looked like he was in a better spot, but just not coming up clean.
There just wasn't enough damage yet for the side of CAZ, and now Overpower could be in trouble as well, and it looks like Hyperion's going to clean him up just fine.
Big stun coming out across the way from Alexim, however. Not going to stun Hyperion under the tower long enough to take enough damage to really wind up being a kill, but still an effective one. 3 kills now for Quantum, and very clean. Very happy is Jiran across the way. He's not all 3. He's 2 out of 3. The third one comes by way of the jungler.
Burning out the beads, though, for Overpowered is so important, because now it's going to be really difficult for him to try and get into the face of this Poseidon pick. If he gets trapped in one of those cripples, I mean, Bacchus flops are already starting to do a significant amount of damage, so I can't even imagine if he spends more than a couple of seconds inside of a whirlpool.
So really what it comes down to here is that Quantum, is their draft just ready to beat up the Ares? Are we ever going to see Jiran do something worthwhile?
It's going to be difficult for Jeroen to really get inside of these fights. What he really needs to wait for, I think at this point in time, is to try and utilize his blink a little bit more effectively, get a bit more surprise factor going, rather than just trying to engage right up in front of them, walking up to 2 people in the mid lane.
Yeah, there's, I think everyone kind of saw what Jiran was going for. He just ran straight and then blinked, and nobody was surprised. And you don't always need the element of surprise when you're the Ares, but it's all dependent on the situation. And this is a situation that you kind of need that surprise. You know, I mean, the Kraken is just going to every single time. In fact, as soon as Duckbot uses the Kraken in a different scenario, which we'll see happen more and more as the team fights happen, that's when you want to see the Ares pop the ultimate. 2-on-1, Minos chases away the Hyperion with the ultimate, and that should be that.
But Duckbot's beads are still down for an additional 20 seconds, so this could be the perfect opportunity, and Jiran spots his moment, and he's looking to go in. This is the burst damage they've been waiting for, and finally they're able to pick up the kill onto Dinosaur, and Sir Duckbot just a little bit off guard in the jungle. That's all that they needed, and the Ares ultimate finally comes through.
Alexim helping out as well, dropping down the circle of protection, and this time around, not so protecty. Definitely wants to be a little bit more aggressive. Shots from Joey, not going to do it. And CAZ Esports take away the Gold Fury, our first lead of the game, just underneath 2,000.
Absolutely beautiful engagements all around from the side of CAZ, securing the kills and the gold fury. That's a comfy little lead that you can get established early on. And I'm sure that that's all that they were really waiting for.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for out of these 11-minute engages. Just a nice quick take you down and then take down an objective. A lot of times it doesn't have to be the end-all be-all, but what you're looking for is just that first footstep. You know, you're trying to climb a mountain here, and you need that first little rock to really place your foot on.
Not to mention, that just opens up a ton of map pressure for CAZ and will make it a little bit easier for them maneuvering throughout these jungle routes, especially for Duran, because on this Ares pick, I mean, the element of surprise is really your best advantage, especially if you're trying to engage a lot more aggressively with a blink pickup prior to being level 12. So it's absolutely perfect for him because with gold being down, I mean, they don't have to really worry about engaging the solo lane side now. Yeah,
there's nothing really to be concerned about. Hyperion, he drags 3 players on top of him. Coach Killy making the early rotation, sets up Duckbot. Number 4 Quantum, barely getting out of there until Overpowered finds the kill with the bouncing ball. Still in trouble is the jungler on the side of CAZ. Nice freeze from Minos, that saves his jungler's life. Big wall, big ultimate. Duckbot could go down, and he will. Nice play out of the Ymir, who's had a fantastic game all day.
And now, Joey's actually going to take a spill himself, playing just a little bit too aggressively, running up into Minos.
Oh, Coach Killy.
Oh, God. There goes Killy as well.
Just running next to the Ares.
There's just no way to get out of that engagement. It looked like it was going to go so heavily into Quantum's favor, but Overpowered just squeaking by with the last of his HP. The Hunter falling down because he didn't have that ROM ultimate to use to his advantage since he had burned it. It just now came up, and that's just unfortunate all around.
All Minos for me. That was completely a mere play. You see the monkey come through, and then all of a sudden, big freeze, the wall goes up, ultimate down. That takes Duckbot out of the team fight immediately. And that means Overpowered USB can come back in, really start some damage, and really just set up by Minos. And that's, you know what? One hand washes the other, okay? Overpowered USB set Minos up for that kill over there on the right side, right to begin with, and then left and said, listen, Ymir, you got to do it from here, all right? Just take it. It's all you. I set you up. And then Overpowered's run. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Minos shows up. Listen, man, I took care of you now. We're even. Don't come to me anymore. I'm not rotating.
But Dobson, he is pretty massive at this point in time. 3-0-2 already, a 2-level lead pretty much over Joey, who just hit level 14, but now Dobson actually just level 16, so the 2-level lead is still established. And with the Ickful kin size coming through on his build, that is exactly what you want to see when you establish such an early lead for yourself.
It's one of my favorite builds on her. The Transcendence on her, like, listen, right now there's a number of different ways to go ahead about playing your hunters, and only one way to take down that player. Minos one more time. Big wall gets jumped over by Coach Killy. But so Transcendence on her and everything, there are a number of different ways to play these characters, and it's all situational as Dobson goes down and takes down the tower. But this is one of my favorite builds for on her. The passive works out with Ikeval very nicely. It has a nice power curve with the Ikeval right away, and like you said, if you're able to pick up an early Gold Fury and get some extra farm, yeah, build that Chinsai right after some attack speed.
The biggest preference for this is the fact that Joey elected to go for Devo gloves right off the bat. He rushed that item. So without boots, he had a lot lower maneuverability than Dobson. So Dobson can just freely aggress into him and constantly be outrunning him. And so when you combine that with the Ickful and the Kins, it's so much burst damage that Dobson doesn't have the sustain at this point in time to really deal with.
Which is interesting because the Chinsai is actually, that's the sustained option. When you're going the Transcendence build, that's your burst build, right? That's the one that you're looking for. Impale, 2 basics, and an ultimate, and they're dead. That's that burst build. The Chinsai is supposed to be the extended damage build, but when you're 2 levels, 3 levels above the other guy, everything's burst.
Dobson doesn't seem to really have a whole lot of concern for sustain, though. Kind of going to be banking on Alexim at this point in time, as I'm pretty sure he'll be building that item into a Hasten Fatalis pretty soon.
It's likely. Hyperion trying to shade over to the right side, gets chased away by our Ares player. Quantum, on the other hand, lightly defending the tower. I don't think CAZ Esports were really planning on doing much of anything, but if nobody showed up, I'm sure they'd take a couple of pot shots.
the Ares Flames weren't looking too intimidating beforehand when Duran was just getting bursted down pretty quickly in the mid lane. But now they're starting to tick away pretty heavily at the health for these squishy characters on the side of Quantum. So they're certainly going to have to be looking out for that.
Very important that CAZ was able to turn things around early on, because an Ares behind doesn't really do anything. He's got a cripple, but really, when those chains come out, the CC is less about the cripple and more about the damage. You're being crowd controlled because your life bar is too low to actually fight, and that's the big deal. And if you're behind, well, the damage just isn't there. So you're not too concerned about the Ares player. Very important that his team caught up, and Coach Killy is getting aggressive there in a very curious spot, but Minos really has the number here in the solo lane.
Minos doesn't even seem to care all too much about that T1 tower in the solo lane. It'll probably be falling really soon as well, because he's got so much power and just he's absolutely destroying Coach Killy right now.
Exactly. There's the ultimate circle of protection coming down. A couple of more come out, but it's going to be CAZ Esports that take down the Gold Fury, number 2. Nice ultimate out of Duckbot, but players spread out and miss, and overpowered USB is the one that gets the kill. He falls down. Hyperion with credit, and despite Joey's best efforts, he gets nothing. So it's a 1-for-1, but CAZ wind up the better because of the fact that they also got a Gold Fury. Quantum mid lane, can they get the tower?
And every single time, I'm sure that CAZ will happily take that trade,
Oh, yeah.
even though it could potentially put their jungler to a slight disadvantage. But buffs on their side of the map are only just now about to spawn, so Quantum can't necessarily rush immediately to that point in time. And now they check, they saw, they don't really have a whole lot of engaged commitment at this point.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of options coming out from Quantum as CAZ Esports push their lead even further. Now 18 into it. It's 9-5, and it's 5,200 gold in the lead for CAZ. The Oracle started up by Joey. Not going to be finished. In fact, it's going to be Dobson chasing him down. The Aegis already used 1, 2, and he's gone. 10 in total. CAZ Esports looking hot. 7 of those kills we've seen our Hunter be a part of. 4 of them, he's put the last hit. And CAZ Esports' Hunter, you said it, Dobson is humongous.
And there's absolutely nothing that Joey can do about it. Even forced to use his Aegis there, and it made 0 difference in how that trade went. Just it's hard to juke out somebody chasing you down with Fatalis.
Hyperion does have to get chased away, and he winds up using his beads. Big play right there. Dobson, big play in the mid lane, forces out the Aegis out of the mid lane. Mage, and the ultimate from Overpowered just a little short. So a misstep coming out from OP USB, but his team is going to pick up the Portal Demon, unless Coach Killy has something to say about it. Down comes Minos' ult, a little bit of a Spirit Ball, and the blue team secures the portal.
I don't think Coach Killy really wants to look for anything else on this point in time, knowing that the entirety of CAZ Esports is right there. So he's just going to have to back off, and that's probably the worst part, is just watching the enemy team secure that Portal Demon and knowing that you're completely exposed.
Yeah, there's nothing that you can nothing that you can actually do, excuse me. So kind of a rough spot for Quantum to be in right now, as they're just watching this lead step by step. That's really, you know, first it was 500 gold, then it was 1,000. We literally saw the 500 gold jump ups from the first blood, and then 1 invade, and then of course our tower over here is going to be 500, but Dobson selected the 500 earlier on. The first big jump was the Gold Fury that we saw that brought them to 17, and now it's 6,300 catapulting off of that tower that we see Minos take on the right-hand side.
And this is where it starts to become incredibly scary for Quantum, because they have no chance to fight into it. And Hyperion, where'd you go?
Just quick. Just quick. Man, that was... Whew. Player disappeared right there. Almost 2/3
A little bit of a
kills.
Houdini.
Yeah, just where'd you go, man? Not there. Not there. Same thing with the tower. Tower's a little jealous, wants to pull the same act. But in the sky, it's Rom. No damage. No damage. That's the problem for Quantum, is that they're just too far behind. I mean, look at the build. He's got the Devo gloves in the chin side, which I don't love, but whatever. The damage just isn't there. He hits 2 shots on the monkey, and Overpowered USB just shrugs it off. In fact, he walks and he clears another wave.
Overpowered didn't have to be concerned, though, knowing that Alexin was right behind him, still had his Ice's ultimate, if anything, to provide just that quick burst heal should he have been in danger. But just completely unnecessary. Quantum couldn't even step up to their own tower.
So you're a Hunter player. And I want to break down some builds right here as we wait for teams to really find their next spot. So when it comes down to Chinsai, I always look at Hunters. I think that you can oversimplify the Hunter builds into two categories, right? You get your power, which comes from trans and even Devo gloves, and then you've got your attack speed, which usually winds up with the Chinsai. The Chinsai doesn't scale off of power at all. It scales off of attack speed. And then you look at critical strike, which does scale off of the power. So usually I put those in two separate categories. But we see right here the Devo gloves and the Chinsai. So I don't think, I mean, I know that the power doesn't come into play with the Chinsai. Is this build out of RUM strictly, I want the lifesteal, that's why I went Devo gloves, and I'm an attack speed based hunter, so I'll go with the Chins?
The issue here with Joey is that he shouldn't have rushed the Devos right off the bat against such a heavy lane pressure opponent like On Her. When you face off against an On Her and you know that he's going to be electing towards the boots, and you could tell by the way that Dobson started off his build that he just wanted to rush boots, look for as much lane pressure as possible. At that point in time, if you're building the Devos right off the bat, you either have to play incredibly passive, which is pretty difficult to do against the Hunter player that just wants to be up in your face, or you just need to maybe forego the immediate Devos rush. And I would have ideally liked to see him build boots first and then look to pick up the Devos to determine whether or not it was still a good idea to just rush that life stain right, or the sustain right off the back.
You're going to need the boots, so it gives you a moment to sort of think about things. Left side, Gold Fury being aggressed on by CAZ. Right side, nothing being aggressed on by Quantum. I think they saw overpowered USB, but got a little bit distracted. Wanted to go for the Portal Demon, not available. Instead, turns to the big boy, Fire Giant. Aggressed on it, Gold Fury goes down across the way, half HP, and they're not going to take it down fast enough, Taco. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to get Fire Giant while the Gold Fury was still being aggressed, but not quick enough. Coach Killy jumps away. Alexa unable to find the stun ball, but Thorn's not good enough. And Jiran gets the kill.
But now that Fire Giant is looking pretty tasty to the side of CAZ Esports, and with Coach Killy already being taken off the table, the burst damage is there for CAZ, and that FG is going to go their way.
Yeah, Duckbot tried, but he did not come up clean. Overpowered gets one, Overpowered gets two, and so Duckbot will suffer. Lexum picks up Hyperion sort of on the okie doke, and 4 players down on Quantum's side brings CAZ Esports up to 11,000 gold lead right quick. And with the Fire Giant, that Quantum kind of forced into their hands, they're going to go ahead and push up the mid lane.
That's one of those risky calls, though, where when you can see a game already starting to slip away, nothing wrong with it, but as soon as Minos came through, showed presence as a mirror, you know his entire team is going to be aware. They're immediately just Gold Fury straight over to FG, and now because of it, it's snowballing out of control.
So this is one of those situations that I love revealing Ritual, but in a world where Flickering and Frenzy exists, purchasing that item kind of, why would you do it, right? That's the one spot where you need it. You know that they're going for the Gold Fury, right? Go for the Fire Giant. I actually really love the call, and I give an applaud to Quantum. Minos being there, not enough to get me off, even with the Ymir ultimate. But you got to see where the rest of the team is. You pop that revealing, you see them at the mid lane, you judge your damage, and you say, look, we're not able to take this Fire Giant down. Full retreat. This way, if they decide to start it, you can maybe reassess and try your own thing. But CAZ Esports only went for Fire because Quantum had sort of forced them into it.
The other thing to note, too, is that while things are looking pretty grim at the moment for Quantum, if they can find just that one solid Poseidon Kraken, give Joey a chance to free cast some of his ability and just in-hand damage, all they need is 1 or 2 picks. I really think with 1 or 2 picks, they can delay the game long enough to get their draft online, because theirs is certainly a more late game oriented draft. And while it'll be incredibly difficult to fight into CAZ at this point in time, fighting underneath their 2 remaining Phoenixes as soon as this T2 goes down, which I'm sure it will momentarily, that could be their best bet.
Yeah, I'll have to agree. And for what it's worth, Duckbot's Krakens have been on point today. He's been playing with the team for 2, maybe 3 weeks now, and his first week was not so hot. But quickly he kind of ramped up, and here, you know, he's 2-3-3. He winds up with the first blood onto Jiran, who I think we can more point towards the Ares as pathing there for first blood. But either way, the ultimates out of the mid lane mage haven't been really terrible. It's just the fact that CAZ has been able to make the team fight happen more so than Quantum's. Duckbot comes out, drops Kraken, and there's no follow-up, whereas with CAZ, this is what goes down. Stun out of the mid lane. All right, that one's going to miss. Joey's in the sky looking for some extra damage. This is a little bit disjointed. Uncharacteristic for what CAZ has been bringing all day. There's the blink in from Duran, looking for somebody. Grabs one, it's to Hunter. A little bit of support for the jungle, not gonna matter, but there's Alexim's ultimate. Half HP on the Phoenix. Dinosaur in some trouble. There's the overhand smash, and he gets credit for it. Overpowered USB gets one, but Duckbot answers back. Kraken comes out, not so hot that time, and the Phoenix falls down. It's a 1-for-1, but CAZ get what they come for, and they're on the retreat.
Did you see that Spirit Ball damage onto Hyperion?
Yeah.
They're the same level, and that took away, like, at least 60% of his health from one Spirit Ball.
Bancroft, he was lower than 100. He's got routed to Hootie, and it was after the Wing Gust, so the Spear of the Magus got built up. Chunking with the Spirit Ball. CAZ Esports, of course, same level, but one's got the Fire Giant, so...
And now they also have a ton of gold in hand, which I'm sure they'll be more than happy to spend. And it's no surprise. And I actually really like what Dobson's choosing to do here, going through with the Odibo build.
Love it.
It's not one that we've seen too often.
Love it.
But it's perfect in this scenario.
I absolutely love it. Like you said, it's perfect. One, you're going to see the group up from Quantum, and it's going to be able to punish that. But also, this is sort of what I was alluding to before, in that, you know, you sort of have two schools of thought. The attack speed, full thought process, the damage from the chin side, the percent health, it scales off of the attack speed so well. You've got the chins, the Fatalis, and the Odibo next to the Ikaval. That's so much attack speed. Look at him go. And that's without the chin side damage on top. So, I mean, I love the build coming out from Dobson. We're seeing the crit being built into by Joey now. The crit builds do come on a little bit later, but, you know, not loving the build so much because I think the chins kind of stick out like a sore thumb on the side of the ROM.
In this circumstance, he probably should have elected more for a pen item as opposed to the crit, considering that he's got to face off against an Amir and an Ares, and those are going to be the two candidates in his face the most. So with a crit item, even with the Kins online, it won't be enough really to stop them from just standing right in front of him.
Yeah, it really should have had to be a penetration on him. Free Fire Giant going the way of CAZ Esports here. It's very interesting that the way these builds have come out, because there is a lot of freedom. There used to just be, well, build what Zapman builds. You build Devo gloves into boots, into two crit items. One's Rage, one's Deathbringer. You build a Titan's Bane, and the math is wrong, but nobody knew that in Season 1. That's what you did.
Nobody cared about it in Season 1. Because the thing is, math won't always necessarily say what's the best, but at the same time, like, math isn't always right. As weird as that sounds, it's not always right when it comes to Hunter builds.
You got to know the correct math equation. You got to figure out what's right and then what feels right, because sometimes they're two very different things. Rally over there as Quantum starts to fight off of the Phoenix. Very intelligent positioning, but they need to fight more in that red circle. Instead, they let CAZ push up, and Hyperion falls down. Dobson getting a kill on the Dinosaur. It's 1-1. Nice ultimate coming out of Hyperion, but Coach Killy's in trouble. He's gonna get walked down by Dobson. Jumped over. Hyperion's gonna get walked down by Dobson as well. Hyperion gets the kill. Dobson's not able to get him before he figures one out. And Duran finishes one as well. 2 for 3 at the moment. Phoenix goes down for the count. And CAZ Esports, well, still positive.
That Phoenix was left standing for way too long, considering that it was a half-health Phoenix. Would have liked to see Dobson just pick that one off really quick. You've got the build to do it, but a little bit kill-hungry there on the side of CAZ. It's just going to delay things a little bit more, which is, of course, probably in Quantum's favor, but at the same time, this is certainly still...
You think Joey buys pen last item?
Pen last item? If you're going to build the Wind Demon...
So let's agree.
You should commit.
Let's agree off the bat. The build needs penetration. 10 pen from Fatalis isn't enough, right? She's so mad.
He's committing. I said it. You got to commit. As soon as all the Wind Demon, you can't have a Wind Demon and not attach an additional crit item to it. You might as well just full-on commit at this point in time. Does he need pen instead? Yes. But He's opting for the crit commit.
Yeah, it's just the chins. It's just the chins that it's just the chins. It's like me coming out here with a beautiful suit, nice shirt, right? Let's say blue suit, white shirt, and then like a lime green square tie.
He is still a ROM though.
It just doesn't fit.
But he's still a ROM. He still has that attack speed steroid in his kit. He's got the astral arrows, which will provide an additional slow should he be able to get those off.
But he's not a Thanatos. He doesn't have built-in
He'll
pen.
still chunk. You'd be amazed how much damage this build can provide.
We'll take a look. Dinosaur jumps into 3. Does some damage. Joey not doing too much. It's Duckbot. Great ultimate that time around, but Alexim's able to just heal his team up. Hyperion on the offensive. Love what this jungler has been able to do. Takes down the mage. Dobson tosses the long-range ultimate, and Hyperion falls to the Guardian. Joey in the back end. Not showing the damage. Just gets chunked out by himself.
It's hard to put damage onto an Aegis target, but it's not hard to put damage onto Dinosaur, who gets trapped into the corner there perfectly by CAZ Esports. And now this Phoenix should be able to go down no problem. As for whether or not CAZ are going to try and engage on the Titan.
Game. It's already half dead.
But their carries are low enough for that Poseidon to still be a threat. So taking the safe route and just moving straight towards that left side Phoenix. Might as well pick them all off, have as many fire creeps as possible rushing into that base. And then with the fire creeps and only 2 members standing on the side of Quantum, this should be CAZ's game.
What'd you have for lunch today? Why are you so nice?
And
You've
now,
been so nice to this team.
I mean, sometimes you just gotta back before you attack. I try to give players the benefit of the doubt as far as decision making is concerned. If they feel uncomfortable engaging, if Poseidon is considered that much of a threat to a team to where they feel better just picking up a Phoenix and then backing when only 2 members are left standing, it just goes to show that there's a decent amount of discipline still on the side of CAZ. And whether or not that's the right or the perfect decision, I shouldn't say right.
I like the way you,
But whether that's the perfect decision or not, either way, CAZ still have a very comfortable lead. So why risk throwing that for a potential Titan secure when you can just have tons of fire creeps pushing in and then an FG on top of it?
I'll agree with you. All right, I'll give it to you. Risk versus reward. What's the risk? What's the worst case scenario? Let's say
worst case
CAZ
scenario
goes in and they get wiped. What happens then?
Then Quantum gets more time to farm. They have a lot more time to build up their base defenses as far as warding is concerned, and just overall team prepping as far as re-engaging into CAZ is concerned. Like, Quantum still has a draft that can deal the damage to eliminate CAZ pretty quickly.
Yeah.
There's still a decent amount of risk in play if Quantum are being recognized as a threat factor for them to back off.
And right now, CAZ effectively minimalized that risk. They've picked up the Fire Giant. They've all backed. They definitely, ooh, 1040. You see that number? That's a scary number, Taco.
Dobson also has an Aussie now rather than that Ickful, which was an excellent trade out because that little bit of sustain is going to make a pretty big difference as far as that commit factor from Hyperion, who's been loving diving straight onto Dobson in the back
And
line.
honestly, Hyperion's been doing work, but Frenzy means fight. The Kraken just whips! Duckbot, no! That could be the end for Quantum. Overpowered USB takes down Duckbot after the missed ultimate. Coach Killy gets walled off. Mid lane of Phoenix respawned, about to get taken down as well. Left side, a jump over the wall, helps out. Hyperion's in trouble. Overpowered USB doesn't have the chase mechanism, but
this Titan should go down, and now with the Icy's ultimate, no problem, no risk, just 100% CAZ's game.